YouTube, what is good? Check it out. We finally have stuff hung on the walls. It is looking amazing in here. Spent all day working on this. I know I talked about painting the walls and I really was going to, but I drove to the Lowe's, saw everyone not distancing from one each other inside the Lowe's and said, you know what, I'm not gonna be part of the problem. I want this to be done. I'm gonna go home and I'll just paint the walls later if I want to. So who knows, we could do that in the future, but looking nice in here. It's amazing what actually hanging things on the wall does to a place. So today we are talking about B-roll. You saw that intro sequence. I filmed that intro sequence by myself, like most of the intro sequences on this YouTube channel. Y'all know I'm a photographer first. I'm not necessarily a videographer. Yes, I have this YouTube channel. Yes, I enjoy videography, but for the most part, video is just something I do to showcase my photography and showcase what I know about photography. So I don't always have people around to film me because it's not necessarily the priority. So today I want to go over what I do to film these B-roll sequences by myself and how you can do the same thing. So before we get going today, two quick notes. One, notice the Falcons hat. Shout out to Todd Gurley, the newest member of the Atlanta Falcons. And two, hit the thumbs up button on this video if you enjoy it and share it with anyone who you think it would help. And I guess technically number three is the disclaimer that you're gonna get better results if you're the one operating the camera and you have a separate subject, or you're the subject of the video and you have someone operating the camera. Doing this by yourself is definitely not the most ideal way to get an epic B-roll sequence, but if you gotta do it by yourself, there's a few little tricks that you can know to make the most out of it, and that's what we're talking about today. Now, the first thing you gotta talk about is the golden rule, the Godfather rule of filming yourself. The main thing you need to understand and know, which is basically you are the subject and the camera operators. So you need to pick something in your scene to focus the camera on before you actually go into the scene as the subject. The clip of me hanging up the poster, I focused on the wall where the poster was going to be beforehand, moved out of frame, moved back into frame, hung the poster. So basically think of yourself as the camera operator and the subject, and always focus on the key item of the scene before you enter back into the scene as the subject. It's pretty basic and straightforward, but if you don't understand that concept of filming yourself, it's gonna be a tough road for you. Now, the second thing you can keep in mind is how the camera is moving throughout your clips. You don't want camera movements that work against each other. So for example, let's say you're moving the camera up for one shot. You don't want the next shot to be moving to the right. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It works better if the camera is moving up, the next shot is moving up. Or if the camera is moving to the right, the next shot is moving to the right. Now, another thing you can do with camera movement is what I call like item continuity between clips. So essentially you can use an item in one clip to tie it into the next clip. An example of this is in our sequence, I pick up the safety goggles out of the toolbox. And what I did purposely, as I picked those up, I brought them close to the camera. So then in the next clip, I have them close to the camera again, bring them this way. So essentially the safety goggles tie the two clips together. And because there's a very vibrant blue on the safety goggles, it makes it very easy to recognize them moving from one clip to the other. You see the same concept later on in the sequence where I pan down towards the drill bit box and I grab a drill bit out, and that clip ends on the toolbox. And then in the next clip, that clip starts with the toolbox moving towards the drill as I'm putting the bit in there. So the toolbox ties those two clips together just like the safety goggles. Now, one other great way you can create motion in your clips is by filming at 4K resolution and putting it on a 1080 timeline in editing. So essentially you can create fake camera movement in whatever direction you want via keyframes. Now, I use Premiere, so in Premiere all you're gonna do is drop a keyframe at the beginning of your clip, set your coordinates wherever you want them, and then at the end of the clip you're gonna drop another keyframe, set your coordinates wherever they need to be, and then your clip will move throughout. A good example of this is the scene where I'm dropping the toolbox on the desk right here. Using keyframes, we create kind of this pullback camera movement just to add a little bit more drama to that clip, because it would be kind of boring if it was just static me setting down the toolbox right there. Now, there's a scene in today's clip where the camera is moving up as I step on the couch to hang this canvas. That was made with this Manfrotto head right here, and I actually used a counterweight on here. So I put a weight on the back of this, waited for the movement to start, walked into frame, put that up, walked out of frame by the time it reached, you know, like all the way like that. Now this is a tool that's much easier to use when you're filming by yourself in the left and right motion. So you can use one hand to move it, and then you can have another hand in the frame like that. It's much more difficult to use in an up and down motion because you're really relying on gravity. Now another thing that I use today that I don't use very often is this weird thing right here. I don't even know where I got this. I think someone gave it to me a long time ago. Like, you flip the camera out like this, but it's nice because you can put the camera here and create this motion up like this. I only used it one time, but it was on the clip where I'm grabbing the glasses out and the camera moves like this. This creates kind of a steady upward movement. Now, one last thing that I've occasionally used in vlogs is my DJI Mavic Mini. Now, you can use this indoors because it is so small. Today, I recorded a clip with it, but I didn't use it because the footage didn't match. Everything I shot today was 10-bit ProRes, and this is definitely not 10-bit ProRes, but you can get a pretty cool top-down angle, and it's very easy to film yourself because you can set the drone wherever it needs to be, hit the record button, step out of frame, walk back into frame, do whatever you have to do, and it's from a unique vantage point. Now, one last thing that I like to do is utilize sound effects. By adding sound effects to your clip, you can get that extra level of dynamicness and that extra level of immersion for someone watching it. For example, the opening clip today where I recorded myself walking down the hallway holding the camera and the toolbox in front of me, I added those footstep sounds to the beginning of the video because I felt like it added a little bit more dimension to the video, and I actually added the sound of me opening the door. And you might not notice it, it's pretty subtle, but there is the overlay of like neighborhood sound with dogs barking, birds chirping at the beginning of that clip, kind of to set the scene and give it more ambiance because the music is so quiet at the beginning of that clip. So adding sound effects like this can make up for a lot of the limitations that come with recording a video by yourself. So that is everything I know about making a B-roll sequence alone, how I film myself. Everything I talked about today is what I apply in every single one of my videos. And hey, I know a lot of you are at home. I know you have a lot of time on your hands, so this might be something cool that you can try out, that you can practice. It takes up a lot of time, believe it or not. The clip I recorded today took a few hours to record, took me probably an hour, hour and a half to edit, and that was only for 30 seconds. So if you make something that's 2 minutes, 3 minutes long, you might get an entire day of work out of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you are not yet. Thinking about everyone on this YouTube channel, thinking about your families, hope everyone is safe, hope you're doing well. Y'all are the truth. I will catch you next time.